about. But Terence, talk about what it was like to be a Lindsborg kid and to come to Bethany College, and what a typical day was like for you.
Well, I grew up in the Depression era and the dust storms and all that, and the milking, we milked cows, and I delivered milk to people in town while in high school and college.
Okay.
So I had that job to do before I started school.
So what time did you get up to milk?
Well, I didn't milk.
Okay.
Dad took care of that. All I had to do was to deliver.
So how big were the quantities of milk? Was it a quart or a pint or?
Well, quart. And the Danielson family, the missionary,
Yeah.
I think they took a couple gallons a day.
I bet they had 6 kids.
6 kids.
They had 6 kids, yeah. And all 6 graduated from Bethany, by the way. That's Lois Carlson's family, yeah. So, so you deliver milk in the morning?
Yeah.
How many families did you deliver to?
I think probably 6 to 8, something like that.
Okay, very good. And then after you got done delivering milk, did you come to class?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't remember what if it was the early class or not, but and then there was a bunch of farm kids. We'd eat our lunch in cars out there by Old Main, in the street.
Okay. Yeah, on First Street or on First or Swenson Street.
Yeah.
Yeah. So were most of your classes in Old Main?
Yeah.
Okay. And that was before Nelson Science or
Oh yeah.
the Social Science Building. The library was here then. The library that sat on this corner over here, on the corner of Swenson and 2nd.
Yeah, and that's where Vanda Wallin was librarian, and her sister was a music teacher, and they were the ones that befriended this nut that gave so much money.
Oh yeah, Mr. Nutt. Yeah.
See, his brother
Uh-huh.
was in my class in high school, and after I heard nothing after the war about him.
Okay.
But I have made contact. He had his 50th wedding anniversary, so he survived the war. He and the one that gave the money also was in the military.
Okay.
And,
All right.
and he must have gone and done tremendous in his investments.
Yes, well, and what he gave to the city of Lindsborg and to Bethany College and to the hospital is just amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing.
Yeah, very thankful for those gifts. We've been very blessed that
and
way.
that was because those 2 ladies hired this younger boy to help them, and then they encouraged him to go to get his degree.
Yeah, yeah.
And
it's amazing what a little encouragement can be.
yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you were in the Bethany choir with Dr. Brossi, and of course Dr. Brossi is well known.
the Messiah.
The Messiah with Dr. Brossi. Yeah. Okay. So what was it like to have practice in the Old Main Chapel? This window is from Old Main. This is a stained glass. That's one of the things that we were able to keep from Old Main. So
I don't know if I practiced in that.
Oh, okay. Okay. Presser Hall would have been here then, right?
It was just new.
Okay.
And see, I came home in 50. I got married in 45.
45. Okay.
Yeah,
All
and
right.
then I had to go to Pacific for 9 months.
Okay.
After getting married.
Okay.
Wow.
And it was kind of crazy too. We got engaged by mail, writing to each other,
Wow.
I dated her some, and then she said yes by mail.
By mail.
All right.
And then so I got a ring. I was stationed in Oakland, California,
Okay.
going to diesel school then.
Uh-huh.
After I'd got my ensign degree I went to Notre Dame for that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was kind of there's kind of crazy things.
Yeah. Well, the war caused a lot of crazy things.
Yeah.
It did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But really, I was blessed. In all my service, I saw no one killed, you know. And I guess I just want to tell you.
Sure.
After diesel school, and I'd gotten engaged in, I think it was November, and then I mailed her the ring.
You mailed her the ring.
Yeah.
And she got it.
And she got the package. She was teaching school out there east of Bridgeport, and she had a couple 8th graders that were bigger than Margaret, you know. And they saw that package. It was quite an excitement for the community.
Well, that's pretty cool. That is amazing that the ring got here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you bought the ring in Oakland?
No, in San Francisco. I had a couple girls from the church that took me over there.
There you go. Bless your heart.
Because they knew the ropes there in San Francisco.
Good.
That's cool.
So you went, correct me if I'm wrong, Terence, but you went to enlist and they told you to finish college, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you enlisted, you graduated in 43.
I was a junior.
Okay.
So I enlisted in January
Okay.
of the next year.
Okay. All right.
Then I finished that 42 year was when my last year of college.
Okay. Okay. So you enlisted and you eventually went to diesel school, right? And so what was I guess you had something to do with the engines then on a ship because you were in the Navy, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, first I went to Notre Dame for midshipman school.
Okay.
You know, and
All right.
that's a tough course, you know. They're trying to weed out so many people, you know. And then from there we got sent to Chicago area and formed a crew. And then we got this new LST built in Jeffersonville, Indiana, which is across the river from Louisville.
Okay.
And we had a crew, about 125, and only about 10 had ever been on a ship before.
Wow.
And we took that down Ohio River, Mississippi River, and trained around Florida for a little while. And then we went around Florida up to Norfolk. And they loaded a smaller landing craft on our deck. You know, my ship was pretty good size. It was the length of a football field plus 27 feet.
Wow.
Wow.
And it's one of these, you know, it was flat bottom so you could beach it.
Okay.
Just drive it up on the beach, and then you open the bow doors.
And it was a troop transport ship, right?
And all kinds of equipment.
Okay.
Put tanks in there.
Wow.
Oh, it was a big cavity in that lower deck. And we hauled a lot of stuff.
So how many gallons of diesel fuel did your ship have to hold?
I don't know.
Wow. Big engines, I bet.
Yeah.
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 And when we landed in Marseille, I didn't even see it because I was down in the engine room.
Right.
But we had basically pretty nice landing. You know, the Germans were concentrated up north.
So this was after
Normandy was June 6th.
Right.
And we came into Marseille about August 10th.
Okay. And you were hauling equipment to support the movement.
Well, we had when we got to the Mediterranean, we listed our ship and slid this smaller landing craft off.
Wow.
And then I guess they were on their own. I suppose they made the in landing too, but
Wow.
you know you don't
Yeah.
know what.
Did your ship ever come under attack?
Not really.
Okay, so that was lucky. That
Yeah.
was a blessing for you.
Yeah. In all my time, I saw no one killed
Yeah.
in our crew
Yeah.
or
So you hauled lots of equipment and lots of soldiers.
yeah. See,
Yeah.
after the landing, then we'd go back to Italy or Sicily, because where our troops had been fighting, you know, and we would take some more troops and
So Terence,
Equipment.
you were over there when the for VE Day, when the war in Europe ended.
Yeah.
no,
No? Okay.
I got orders. I and another officer in the ship got orders to go home.
Okay.
And I got home and I called Margaret when I got to Norfolk, and we set the wedding day for 3 days ahead of there. And I didn't know for sure what my orders were, you know. But it worked out, and it turned out that we were married on VE Day,
Wow.
which was a holiday.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then after that you had to go back.
Well, then I went to the West Coast
Right.
and out to the Pacific,
Yeah.
and that's a wider ocean.
Were you on the same ship?
No.
You were on a different ship.
No, I was transferred to another ship
Okay.
that
Same
been out there.
Same type of ship?
Yeah.
Okay. Did that ship come under attack?
They may have been.
You were down below.
Well, no. I got on that ship about 10 days before they dropped the bombs.
Okay.
Oh.
So the first duty we had after that, we went to Shanghai and picked up a load of Japanese prisoners and hauled them back to Japan.
Okay.
And that was the only trip we made doing that. Afterwards, they made us haul Chinese troops from Shanghai area up to Manchuria to fight
Okay.
the communists.
Yeah.
And they of course got beat. We made several trips that way.
Yeah.
You know, it was
Yeah.
so.
So how long were you in the service then after our victory over Japan?
Well, it was 5 months probably.
Okay. Okay.
And I was waiting to get my number so I could get
yeah.
home.
Yeah. Still in the Pacific.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Still moving equipment and people around.
Yeah. From
Yeah.
that was from Shanghai up north
Yeah.
into Manchuria,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then you're waiting for you till you got enough points you can get out.
Yeah. So how did they notify you about your points? Did they notify you by letter?
I
or-
think we all knew, you know, we were all wanting
You're all
to get
paying
out,
attention
you
to that.
know. And so it was
So when you got your points, how did you get home?
rode on another ship, but it's
Did you?
not. But then, you know, you didn't have to worry about the U-boats then.
Yes.
See,
Yes.
so the ships could go straight and
Yeah.
more speedy.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's interesting that that new cruiser that delivered the bomb from New Mexico to this island where they loaded it on a plane.
Mhm.
When that ship had gone, it was hit by a Japanese torpedo
Oh.
and lost a lot of the men.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a new ship, a high-speed one, and I think they were thinking they could outrun the torpedoes. But anyway,
didn't.
they lost. You know, you sink your ship and you get out in the shark waters. You know, it's a terrible way to lose your life.
Wow.
You know, and to see your friends getting
Yeah.
eaten up, you know. It's tough. A lot of sailors lost a lot of friends that way, you know, and their ships getting sunk. And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Wow. So after the war, you come back, and you're already married,
yeah,
And so you and Margaret start your life together. Now,
Yeah.
were you on the family farm, or did you?
No. We lived in town
Okay.
Okay.
for 2-3 years, but it was interesting. We were in an apartment, and catty-corner to that, there was this Leander. He owned this land out of Bridgeport. He comes over and said, I understand you interested in farming, so I got that farm bought within a couple months after
Oh,
I
wow.
got home.
Wow.
And we had saved some money, and Margaret saved some, and then I'd save from my, because I didn't go waste my money like a lot of sailors.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
would go out drinking or
Yeah.
carousing, and I saved my money. And I got that farm for $50 an acre,
Wow.
Wow. How many acres do you remember?
quarter.
A quarter section. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
And I got my loan on what I didn't have. We had
Mm-hmm.
cash for. Well, it was eight, wasn't
That's
it
amazing.
8,000 or something, I believe.
Wow.
And I got my loan from the Bethany College.
Really?
Really?
Yeah, from Stances,
Wow. Okay. Huh. So Bethany College actually helped you purchase your farm.
Yeah.
Wow. That's really neat. I didn't know that they did things like that.
Yeah.
back
I
then.
didn't either.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah, they had a lot of land, and then of course they sold it here in one of these
Yeah.
presidents
Yeah. Yeah.
regime.
Yeah. A lot of people used to leave land
Yeah,
to Bethany.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
so they wanted more liquid assets. They probably would have made a lot more money if they'd left it in the land, because the
Yeah.
land prices have gone.
Yeah.
They have.
See, that
Yeah.
land out there is worth over 2,000 an acre now.
Wow.
So I haven't been able to sell it because the government would take most of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I can leave it to the
Yeah.
descendants.
Exactly.
And,
Yeah.
that they can change the value, and,
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
get along better.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Wow. So, talk a little bit. How many children did you and Margaret have?
6.
Okay. All right. And so Margaret, I know originally was a teacher, and then how long did she continue to teach? My guess is she stopped teaching to raise your
Yeah,
Your kids?
when I came home, she still had a month left of school, I think
Okay.
it was.
All right.
And then she had gone with me to Chicago when I got my discharge.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
And I guess she got a week off or something.
Yeah.
I don't remember all the
Yeah.
details.
Yeah.
Uh,
Wow.
But then our kids came. We had 3 in 4 years.
That's a lot.
And then we had a gap of 4 years, and then we had 3 more at about the same time. And 5 girls before Dan came.
Yeah.
He was the last one.
Yeah.
And it was a big event at the hospital when after 5 girls that there was
Yeah,
a
a
boy.
boy.
And Margaret, well, she went into shock at that birth, and it was very close to losing her. And I just think about what in the world would I have done with 6 children,
Yeah.
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 And so it was a blessing
Yeah.
that she survived. We had to have care for a while till she got her strength back.
So raised 6 kids as a Kansas farmer
Yeah.
and his wife, and life was probably not easy, but good.
Yeah, well, after the war, everything you did was progress,
Yeah.
and you could, it was a lot of work. You could find work. I worked on, well, those units they had out here, but by Messiah Church, they moved from the
From the base?
base.
Okay, for married housing?
Yeah, Homer
Okay.
and I worked together on them, and then
Okay.
that gym they moved in after Ling Gymnasium
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
burned.
Yeah.
See, we had come to eat dinner there, lunch, I guess you'd call it,
Uh-huh.
and that was the fire, and that took that building.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Bob Alstead said his dad had just reshingled it. You know, it's 8-sided, so it was a lot of cutting shingles
Yes.
when replacing the shingles.
Yeah.
And then it burned up.
Yeah.
I remember you saying
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And then they got this gym from the Camp Phillips, I think it was,
Okay.
and reassembled it there up on the north side there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then eventually, I think that became their maintenance building for
I
a
think-
while.
Yeah.
Yeah. After they built Han Gym. Yeah. Yeah. In the 60s. So Terence, as you think back to your time at Bethany College, were there any professors or people on campus that you remember as just being very special to you?
Well, Anna Marm was a math teacher. She was pretty good. I had an English teacher I didn't like.
That tends to be normal.
Yeah,
I
that's
was an
like
English
Laurie
teacher.
was an English teacher in high school too.
I was going to say, that's pretty normal.
You know, Anna Moore must have been special because they named a dorm after her.
Yeah, she'd
You
been
know?
there a long time.
Yeah.
Well, all the professors stayed here they got the job and they stayed the rest of their life.
They did.
Pop Deer, you know, was,
Yeah. Emil Deer. Yeah.
yeah, and we had our classrooms on the 5th floor up there. And some of the kids once in a while be ornery. They would see when he'd come starting walking over there, and they say which stairway he was going. They go down.
They'd go down the other side. Now he was a
There were
science.
ornery kids in those
Yeah.
days too.
He was a science teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's good. So, at that time, Presser Hall was on campus, the library, and Old Main, and Ling Auditorium, but then it burned.
It burned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
That would
So-
have been after the war. Just
And yeah, and was the Swedish Pavilion where the art was that
Yeah.
over? Yeah, that
Yeah.
was across from the about where Anna Marm sits now, or just this side,
Yeah,
west side of
yeah.
Anna Marm. Okay, yeah, and of course that's now down in the park.
yeah.
Yeah, but it housed the art department. And Barrier Zonzane was here then. I don't know if you probably didn't take any art classes. If
No,
you were,
I never. I stayed away from all.
Oh, wow. Anything else you want to add? Is there anything that you took that you took from Bethany, your Bethany years, that has served you well in your life?
Well, I suppose the math is. I've been using that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And I sang in the Messiah chorus for, I don't know, 25, 30 years.
That's awesome.
But most of the time when the kids were little, I let Margaret go. 'Cause she loved music, you know. And I stayed home with the kids.
yeah, yeah.
And
Margaret was, she was a mom to a lot of kids, Terence. She was the secretary at Soderstrom Elementary School when I was growing up. And anytime somebody got sick, Margaret would take care of them until the parent could get there. So I remember bringing notes to Margaret for, whatever reason, and she had to process all those on a daily basis. She was a very special person.
She liked her job. And
Yeah.
Kenny Forsberg was such a
Yeah.
good one to work for.
Good guy to work for. He was the
Yeah.
principal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's good.
And she helped some of those kids that were, struggling, Like,
Very much so.
yeah.
Very much so. Absolutely. Yeah. She was a good person to be in that position.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah.
And Kenny said that he looked through the phone book when he was to find someone to call for the job. That's how
And he came to her name.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
Just said there, that one.
Yeah.
I know she's
Yeah.
grade 6 kids. That'll work. That'll
Yes,
work.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. How many years was she there? Do you remember,
20.
Terence? 20
Wow.
Yeah,
years.
she retired at the same time at Forsberg.
When Kenny did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a good time to go out. Yeah. Good.
But
Good.
but she sang in Messiah, I think, for 50 years. or
Oh
more.
wow.
She loved music.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
she for one time she decided to go back to school and to get work on her degree, and she went one semester, I guess. And then she decided, well, our kids were getting up college age, and she needed to be helping
Yeah.
pay for.
For them to. Yeah.
So she dropped out.
Yeah.
But Margaret had perfect pitch. You know, and she came into that class of these college kids, and the music instructor, I don't know who it was at the time, but he would play a note on a piano and ask what it was, and Margaret could tell him. She had perfect pitch.
She knew what it was.
And those younger kids say, "Oh, that's terrible." She can do that.
She's bringing the
They were
heat,
a little
man.
jealous.
But it was interesting.
Terence, are there any funny anecdotes of Bethany College that you remember that you'd like to share in our magazine article?
Oh,
Are they shareable?
yeah.
So I know, looking at the yearbook here, so your nickname was
Tater.
Taters.
How did you get that?
How'd you get that nickname?
Yeah, that's a great nickname.
Well, in '39, I believe it was, the Covenant Church had their national convention in Lynchburg, and the delegate from Iowa stayed at our house, and he had a nice farm and everything, and he was looking for a wife, but and he had a potato farm, and it made out of, from a former peat bog, and he offered to Roy Carlson and Kenny Rogers and I drove my aunt's Model A Ford up there to work for, I don't know, it was 2 or 3 weeks, and on that peat moss, you'd get itchy, so we would work we'd get up early in the morning and then have to get home or get cleaned up afterwards. And I think we worked 2 or 3 weeks there, and then we came back here.
So that's how you got it? You worked on a potato farm?
That's what, yeah.
They called you Taters.
Yeah.
Well, the Swedes were interesting people because they kind of lived by nicknames.
Yes.
You know, all the...
Lynchburg had
Yes,
tremendous lot of
yes.
nicknames.
They did, so but that's funny. That's how you came to.
Yeah.
Did he ever find his wife? Do you know that farmer? Did he ever find a wife?
Oh yeah.
Did he?
Was she from Lynchburg? No.
No.
he-
Well, that's interesting. That's how you made that association, was because of that conference at the church,
Yeah.
and you wound up working for him for a little
And
bit.
that was the year that we had an 11-inch rain, and this guy, everything was flooded, He came in up our driveway, and it was low water. he didn't know if he was going to make it.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I bet.
Wow. So, what vehicle did you drive into town to Bethany? Do you remember?
Well, after my brother left for his service, before the war started, he left his Ford car, so I could
Okay.
drive that. And then we had our family car,
Do you remember what year it was?
35, I think.
35 Ford.
And this
Okay.
one with the doors open front. The front
Oh, the
doors opened
suicide doors,
Yeah,
or whatever
yeah.
they're called, those things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
But we used that,
Yeah.
well, I guess as long as I was here.
Yeah.
I didn't need a car after that for 3 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you were in the service. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Laurie, is there anything you want to ask Terence?
I would say, if you think about all that you've been through, what advice would you give to students of today? What do you think is important for them to take away from their experience at Bethany?
Well, to be serious about studying and getting ready. You know, too many kids just goof off in college. I don't know if they do anymore, but
Oh, yeah.
they were doing it in my time. And I was not a special. I was a pretty good student. I like to read, but I'm not one of those that top the class. You know,
You had to study.
yeah, I
Yeah.
had to study.
Yeah. Yeah.
And college is time to have fun too, you know. So,
Yeah.
but sometimes that's the main thing.
You got to know
for
how to
kids.
balance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, Terence, I've known you pretty much my entire life, and you are one of those guys that has modeled not only a love of family, but also hard work,
Yeah,
dedication to your church and to your faith, and just as a mentor to many people around here, a quiet leader in our church as to what it means to be genuine in the way you live, in the way you work,
yeah. I
and in
had
the way you love.
good training growing up as a kid in the church too, you know. And we always went to church. That was the
You didn't miss church.
no. It had to be emergency. We
Yeah.
missed it.
Yeah.
And
Well, and Terence, you celebrated your 100th birthday in August.
yeah.
And
Wow.
tell Laurie how old your parents were when they passed.
Well, my dad was 102, and my mom 98.
Wow.
So when I asked Terence, what's the secret? He said genetics.
You know, there's probably a little something to do there.
I behaved myself, you know,
Yeah.
growing up.
Yeah.
Never indulged in smoking or
Yep.
drinking. You know,
Yep.
that helps. you
Yes, absolutely that helps. You've kept your body healthy.
know. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then kept busy all the time.
And
Yeah.
then kept busy.
Yeah.
Stay
kept-
busy. I think that's a lot. too.
I kept farming till 90.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
That
good.
was with Dan, but I mean,
Yeah.
I still kept part of the land and,
Exactly.
and took care of.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And I imagine it was hard to quit.
Well,
Was it?
yeah.
You don't
They,
ever
they
really
were getting
quit,
after
right?
me. You can't drive anymore. They wouldn't let me
Yeah.
drive the truck.
Wouldn't let you drive the truck.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've heard another older guy, the good truck driver, that the insurance won't cover if they have an over 88 or 85 or something like that.
Oh,
Really?
really?
They won't insure 'em. So
Wow.
he had to quit. And
Wow.
he was, you know,
Yeah.
Bob Holloway.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I know Bob. Yeah.
He
Bob.
just drove, I don't know, a million miles probably.
Yes. Long time truck driver.
I drove
Yeah.
wheat truck every year of my life, all the way through. I think
Yeah.
I was probably in my 40s when we
Yeah.
probably,
Oh,
you know, when my dad started renting his land out and not farming it himself.
yeah.
Yeah. Laurie grew up over by, was it Otis or Bison?
By Bison, Kansas, so
Yeah.
west here, about an hour and a half in
Towards
Rush
Great
County,
Bend,
towards
yeah.
near
Great
Great
Bend
Bend.
area.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
I know about that farm life. I do.
Yeah, there's. Well, I've got acquainted with a lot of Western Kansas people, the Mice, you know,
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
and Ruth Truitt, that family.
Yeah.
There's a lot of very nice people out there.
Yes, there are. There are.
Lots of farm people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and most farmers are solid people.
Yes.
They like to work and
They
they're
have that work
independent.
ethic. They have that work ethic.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, and they're willing to help other people.
yeah,
They're willing to help other people.
yeah. I've tried to be generous
Yeah.
and
That's good. Is there anything else you want to add,
Anything you
Terrence?
want to add? This was great.
Well, I grew up in a church, but I made a commitment somewhere in my early years. I can't give a certain date.
Right.
But the Lord has blessed me through the ups and downs. We've lost two children.
Right.
And, and one grandson, Rita, had a little 8 months old boy that choked on a carrot, and it just shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
But there's been the hard things too. So life isn't always easy. It's,
Right.
For sure.
Right.
Yeah.
But you've persevered.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lots of good
And I've
times
kept
along with
a-
those.
Positive attitude, I think. I've had that all my life.
You have.
Even when you had a hailstorm.
That
Some people they're always complaining about something, and they never have a happy attitude.
Yeah.
And
Well, Terence, every Sunday when I greet you at church, whether I'm an usher or whatever, you always have a smile on your face.
well, I think that comes from my mom.
Does it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was a 15-year-old girl when she came to this country
wow.
with older brothers, and she stayed out in Fremont with the Lundquists. They were relatives, Her dad's brothers. See, there were about 5 or 6 of the family that came here, and when some of them were back to Sweden, they were going to take one of the children, bring them here. And my mother got chosen. She was 15,
Wow.
and she.
So she immigrated. Do you remember what year that was?
1904, I think it was.
Okay.
She
Wow.
came here,
Okay.
and she stayed with the relatives in Fremont.
Okay.
The first year, went to school there,
Okay.
and she went to Kansas City where her brother had his business,
Okay.
and he was a good contractor,
Okay.
but alcoholic.
Oh.
And he ended up with nothing, lived
Okay.
in an old warehouse in his last years,
Wow.
And then he came one year to stay here, and I'd have to go pick him up at the Stuga.
Oh, wow. Okay.
and my mother said, "Don't you drink."
Yeah. Yeah.
And so she had enough of seeing what
Yeah.
that brother especially,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
what he lost.
So she came from Sweden,
Sweden
when
in
she was 15.
15.
What was her maiden name?
Nielsen.
Nielsen.
Okay, and how was that spelled? Do you remember?
Nilson.
Okay.
But when her dad's brothers came here, they took the name Lundquist,
Okay.
and one of the sisters married a Dahlstein.
Okay.
So that's where I'm connected
That's how you're
with all
connected
the
to the Dalstons.
Lundquist and the
Okay.
Dahlstein.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That's all interesting.
Yeah.
If I go back to my great great grandfather, he was Per Swenson, and so not related to the Swensons that started Bethany College, but he was, and he only had one S. It wasn't 2 S's in the Swenson.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's amazing those stories of that immigration and those people coming to this
Well,
area.
They all wanted to start a church. As soon as they got here, they built a church almost the first thing.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
And out at the one at Fremont?
Fremont.
Is that the one that still stands?
It's
Oh,
still
no,
out there.
no, no. They had one year. Fremont Church was struck by lightning.
Okay.
And a month. I don't know if it's a month earlier or a month later. Salisbury was.
Wow.
So those
Wow.
two were destroyed that one summer.
Wow. Wow.
And of course they got the edifices they have now after
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But
So there was a Dalston that was pastor.
yeah, he wasn't.
He wasn't the
I
same
don't think he
Dalston.
was
Okay.
related, but
Because he did
he would
both.
walk between.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
He'd walk, and so they'd had service like at 6 in the morning there, and then they'd have like 1 in the afternoon there, and then he'd walk home. Yeah,
Oh my
absolutely.
gosh.
Yeah,
They were dedicated.
Oh boy, you talk about
He had
someone
to
that
be.
walked their faith, that lived their faith. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyway, you have carried on the tradition well for your family. Well, Terence, thank
It
you.
was good I appreciate
This
you
has
coming.
been great.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
So-
this has been great. So